Hello to everyone in TV land. This is Focus on Liberia Online Television, and you're listening to the Focus on Liberia Daily News. I am Gwendolyn Dorado, your presenter. I bring you the headlines. United States Embassy in Monrovia calls for peaceful and lawful resolution to the ongoing political tensions on Capitol Hill involving Liberia's legislature. Government of Liberia in its draft national budget for fiscal year 2025 allocates US 98 million to fund critical development interventions under the arrest specific public sector's investment program. Louis Brown, President Joseph Boakai's controversial pick for ambassador to the United Nations, said he is innocent of the economic crimes allegations leveled against him in the country's 2009 Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. And away from home, Namibia elects its first female head of state this week. Those were the headlines. Now the news in details. The United States Embassy in Monrovia has called for a peaceful and lawful resolution to the ongoing political tensions on Capitol Hill involving Liberia's legislature. The embassy highlighted the importance of adhering to democratic principles and respecting the rule of law during the critical period. In a statement issued on Monday, the embassy revealed that U.S. Ambassador Mark Turner met former President Weah on Monday to discuss the situation on Capitol Hill, and the former president's commitment to Liberia is clear, the statement read. The embassy also highlighted its desire for Liberia's political process to remain peaceful, urging current and former leaders to demonstrate unity in navigating the path. The statement comes amid growing uncertainty surrounding the legislative saga that has sparked debates about constitutional violations and alleged political maneuvering in the House of Representatives. It has been more than a month since the political impasse erupted in Liberia's House of Representatives, where lawmakers under the banner Majority Bloc sought to unseat Speaker J. Fonati Kofa. Refusing to convene under his gavel, the bloc began holding separate sessions in the joint chamber, culminating last Thursday in the declaration of the Speaker's seat vacant and the election of Representative Richard Namri-Cohn of District Number 11, Montserrat County, as their new Speaker. Speaker Kofa and his allies have condemned the move, labeling it unconstitutional. Seeking redress, they filed a petition with the Supreme Court, which subsequently ordered a return to status quo ante, pending a conference scheduled for November 26. The government, in its draft national budget for fiscal year 2025, has allocated US 98 million to fund critical development interventions under the Arrest Specific Public Sector Investment Program. The allocation, which may be supplemented by a contingency budget, highlights a significant focus on infrastructure development, particularly in the road sector. According to the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, of the US 98 million, a substantial US 52.9 million has been earmarked for road projects, including the rehabilitation of rural roads and the construction of Bailey bridges nationwide. Key projects include the continuation of the Seklipi-Zuaju segment under the Sakrem project, the Sanikwele Lugatuo Highway, and the Salaye Bien Town section of the Banga Medikroma Highway, projects that have been faced delays for years. Louis Brown, President Joseph Boakai's controversial pickup for ambassador to the United Nations, said he is innocent of the economic crimes allegations leveled against him in the country's 2009 Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. In an exclusive interview with Mr. Brown, hit back at advocates for a war and Economics Crimes Court, who have said that it would be embarrassing and untenable for Mr. Brown, to be Liberia's chief diplomat while the country is seeking technical and financial support from the international community for the court. Mr. Brown is one of 26 people the TRC recommended for prosecution as individuals responsible for committing economic crimes. His nomination went to a Senate confirmation hearing last week, and the committee is now determining whether to recommend the nomination to the Senate plenary. Court opponents have not said that Liberia does not have the right to appoint Mr. Brown. They have been clear that they believe it will undermine Liberia's efforts to win support for the court if donors are being asked for that support by someone who might be tried by the same court. The International Diplomatic Community has made no comment on Mr. Brown's nomination. The Public Procurement and Consensual Commission has begun hearing into allegations of irregularities that led to the selection of a ghost company as the winner of a recent cyber security bid at LTA. The investigation follows a former complaint filed by Mr. Aloysius Zize, founder and CEO of Stars Group of Companies, highlighting issues of irregularities and fairness surrounding the bid evaluation process. The investigation is expected to see LTA's acting chair at the time of the bid, Madam Angela Cassell-Butch, who chairs the International Gateway System, answering questions regarding the process leading to the selection of the ghost company. Sources have informed the New Dawn newspaper that the LTA is expected to ask for a postponement of the hearing so that the entity's former head of procurement, Prince Goa, can return to the country to participate. However, in addition to Mr. Zize's concerns about the bid, there are allegations of money changing hands amid the secrecy surrounding the selection of the presumed bid winner. Mr. Zize's argument is that on the day of the bid opening, only two companies were present, Stars and Millennium. He has continued to insist that only two bids were opened on that day and that LTA should come back days later to declare a third party as a winner without a document pointing to a re-advertised bid, which speaks volumes. The Stevedores section of the United Seamen, Ports and General Workers Union of Liberia has presented a 4-count demands in its proposed collective bargaining agreement to the leadership of Shipping and Stevedoring Association of Liberia. Key among the demands is to reduce the 12-hour shift to a minimum 8 hours. Speaking at the opening of the CBA in Monrovia, the president of the Stevedores section of Ospogal, Adam Washington, disclosed that the 8-hour shift will save workers from many illnesses such as back problems, private reproductive organs, and early aging, among others. Mr. Washington also disclosed that the proposed CBA to the SSAL leadership has already been submitted to AMP terminus following a consultative meeting with all 1,500 members of the institution. He recalled that over the last 3 years, there has been no increment in wages despite continued increment every year of handle charges by APM Terminus Liberia. According to him, as stated in the CBA, there will be one wage rate for all ports in Liberia, whether with AMP Terminus or the National Port Authority. He pointed at delay in paying workers after the end of their task, suggesting that to avoid such situation, which usually leaves workers crediting all of their wages before receiving pay, moving forward, workers should receive their just benefits in 3 working days after completion of all vessels. The United Nations in Liberia reaffirms its commitment to supporting the country's peace building and sustaining peace initiatives. Speaking at a press conference on Monday, November 25th, at the UN headquarters in Sinker, Mrs. Nicola Klaas, permanent representative of Sweden to the United Nations and chair of the UN Peacebuilding Commission's Liberia configuration, emphasized the UN's role in assisting Liberia as it moves from civil war to a peaceful and prosperous society. Ms. Klaas said her visit to Liberia is to engage with institutions at both national and local levels. According to her, during her 5-day visit, she engaged with the government of Liberia, the Joint Security Forces, the UN country team, civil society groups, women's organizations, and youth leaders. She said her delegation spent time in both Monrovia and Bong County, where they were warmly received by the Liberian people. Away from Liberia, Namibia's longtime governing party hopes the country will be electing its first female head of state this week. But with liberation movements in South Africa, coupled with the anti-incumbency feeling in many parts of the world, may pose a threat to what would be an historic achievement. Vice President Netumbo Nada Ndawa, 72, is the flag bearer for SWAPO, which has led the country since independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990. Tanzania's Samia Suluhu Hassan is currently Africa's only female president, so Nadi Ndawa will be joining an exclusive club if she is victorious. Her party, totally dominant of 3 decades, saw a large drop in its support in the last general elections. It goes into Wednesday's vote amid an unemployment rate of 90%, almost the same as it was 30 years ago, troubled government finances, questions about corruption, and high levels of inequality. Standing in Nada Dawa's way is her main challenger among the 14 other candidates, Pendulani Itula of the Independent Patriots for Change Party. She is also up against a traditional and male-dominated political culture in the country, but she is trusted leader of this sparsely populated and peaceful country, having served in high government office for a quarter of a century. That does it for the daily news. I do a recap of the headlines. United States Embassy in Monrovia calls for peaceful and lawful resolution to the ongoing political tensions on Capitol Hill involving Liberia's legislature. Government of Liberia in its draft national budget for fiscal year 2025 allocates US $98 million to fund critical development interventions under the West Pacific Public Sector Investment Program. Louis Brown, President Joseph Boakai's controversial pick for ambassador to the United Nations, said he is innocent of the economic crimes allegations leveled against him in the country's 2009 Truth and Reconciliation report. And away from Liberia, Namibia elects its first female head of state this week. On behalf of the management and staff of Focus on Liberia, many thanks to our listeners and viewers. We urge that you keep following us and share our videos. My name is Gwendolyn Dorado. I presented.